zone. Malik Phillips, near side. Rockwell to the left. Shoemaker goes to Rockwell. Ball knocked in the air, knocked away. Kobe Singleton on Jay Rockwell. And it is bedlam at Williams Stadium.
It took me 72 hours to get my heart rate down to a normal level after that play Thursday night. And producer 3000 Chad just had to play that clip to start the show and spike it to unhealthy rates again. What a play. What a game. Welcome to, I don't even know what week it is at this point because the weeks are rolling into one another. But the only thing that matters is that we are 5-0 and we are the Sea of Red Football Podcast. And I am Richie Longshots, joined by the man who is all things Liberty Athletics, John Manson. John, we're 3 days removed from an absolute banger of a football game. How you feeling?
Man, what a great night that was. It was stressful as it could be. We'll get into it some more, but sitting there watching that game, I believe Jacksonville State, we'll be talking plenty about Jacksonville State, but I believe Sam Houston had 8 plays inside the red zone, and a bunch of those came down inside the 5-yard line. And every time Kobe Singleton there, we had that little clip with him, the PBU on the 4th down play, but he did that 3 times. And every time he did that, I got a huge sigh of relief. But at the same time, I'm thinking it's only 2nd down. We got to go do it again. Got 3 more plays. So what an amazing game, a great start to the midweek October games, midweek on the mountain. And we got a quick turnaround, and we're doing it again in less than 48 hours from now. We'll be playing another game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling just turning it around after 3 days. I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the players and the coaching staff to get ready for Tuesday night. But, John, you were there. You were live. Talk about that atmosphere. Talk about what it was like in that stadium. Because I know for me, sitting at home in New Jersey, after every stop, I just went, yeah, that's 1, but they're going to have at least 4 more. So what was that like in Lynchburg? Talk about the entire day, the tailgate, the lead up to it, all the midweek on the mountain. Fill that in for all of us that couldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, being there on a Thursday night, just sitting around all day waiting for the game, waiting for the show up at the tailgate. Shout out to Dennis Fields and crew. It was a great time. Several basketball players stopped by, some other athletes and some of the dance team and the typical suspects there that have stopped by most weeks. And it was a lot of fun. And I did a live hit right outside the stadium, right at the tailgate with Ed Lane, our guy over there on CBS Radio in Lynchburg, and was just talking about it. And the first thing that got me is where I park, I walk right by the students' entrance on my way to the tailgate. And the student entrance 2 hours before kick was wrapped all the way around, from that main entrance there at what would be the 50-yard line on the student side, down the sidewalk towards gate 1 and wrapped back around down the sidewalk heading back towards LaHaye Ice Center. And that just gave me a lot of goosebumps and good feelings going into the stadium. And Liberty came out and scored, got that first touchdown, the first drive of the game, got up 7-0, looked easy. I was like, oh, we're going to roll. This is going to be an easy win. And of course that wasn't the case. And but it was good. If we go back to that last drive, we can touch on that real quick and keep it moving. But remember that punt we had? I mean, that punt gets overlooked, and because of what Sam Houston did the following drive. But they got the punt down at the 1. When that punt got down at the 1, I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. There's no way Sam Houston, who's averaging like 9 points a game, is going to drive 99 yards with, I think they had 0 timeouts at the time. Because they did a challenge that they missed and had another timeout or 2 during the half. But anyways, I was like, there's no way. But then the first play, they hit a slant across the middle for about 17 yards, and I was like, okay, here we go. And 4 or 5 plays later, they're already down inside the 35, 40-yard line. And we talked about it. The refs, we can sit here and talk about some of the questionable calls they had, including that PI on Kobe Singleton, but it all worked out. And I went back and watched. I'm sure most people listening and watching have done the same thing. I went back and watched it several times, especially the 4th quarter and that last drive, those last few plays. And man, it was stressful. but got out there with, and at the time, you know, and I tweeted this out: survive and advance. That's all it's about right now for Liberty. I mean, you're 5-0. Just get one more win. You know, each and every week go 1-0. Sounds like coach speak, but at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Survive and advance, and keep it moving.
It really was, and you talked about that feeling on that final drive, and I kept thinking, man, if this were 10 years ago, they would score. Like, just it'd be that classic Liberty blowing a big game on national TV. But it really feels like things have changed. Really feels like that that our football program has gotten through that. Hey, we're going to lay an egg against an inferior opponent, a team that, yeah, we were 19 and a half, 20-point favorites. I disagreed with that line, but that's neither here nor there. Real quick, John, before we jump into our first guest, where does that rank on defensive stands in Liberty history, where that defense needed to make a stop with the game on the line and they stepped up and did what they had to do?
I mean, it's got to be up there, and I think part of it will depend on how the season plays out. I mean, if Liberty ends up limping to, you know, an 8-4 record or something, which I don't think any of us think that's going to happen, then it probably gets knocked down a few levels. But if this season goes where we think and hope it's going to go, it'll be ranked up there. I mean, the Arkansas goal line stand last year immediately comes to mind, and then we also the Southern Miss 4 overtime stand on that 2-point conversion there in the fourth overtime. But I think this Sam Houston stand kind of surpasses that. But it was different too. I think it was because of they had so many opportunities. So I mean, it's got to be ranked. It's got to rank way up there. You know, off the top of my head, I think Arkansas's got to be number one probably, just because I mean, your program's only win over an SEC program, and you get to stand on defense there late in that game. So, but it's up there, and especially, you know, because like I said, so many opportunities that they had. And, you know, you see that happen all the time. I mean, I watch a lot of football this weekend, you know, having our weekends free. It frees you up to watch a lot of hours of football.
Oh, yeah.
The wife's best. Probably not happy with me, but anyways, I mean, I saw a lot of plays that were made on goal line, you know, first and goal to go or whatever. And the defensive players get up and celebrate and all this stuff. Then the next play, it's a touchdown. It's like, well, you know, nice celebration. It didn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we were able to do it, play after play after play, it's just remarkable.
It was. You know, sometimes you just got to escape, get away with the win, run away. At the end of the day, all wins count for one. So keep it moving into this Tuesday. And for those watching, those who have been joining us in weeks past, thank you for joining us again. If you have not liked, subscribed, retweeted, whatever method you are watching this on, please make sure you get out there and support us. And those who are new, thank you for joining us for the first time. But we are going to swing it and kick it over to our two guests that we have just about every episode. Our favorite offensive lineman, no offense to some of the others, Mr. 55, Brandon Schlittler, and our favorite play-by-play announcer, Mr. Jason Border.
Yo, what's up, guys? How we doing tonight?
Good evening.
What's up? What's up?
So, Brendan, take us back to Thursday night. What was that like for you over there on the sidelines as Sam Houston marches 96 yards those last 3.5 minutes, and then they had 8 plays or so inside the red zone. What's going through your mind and maybe some of your offensive teammates there on the sidelines?
Yeah, the whole game in general was kind of all out of the place, and you know, they're a great team. They're the best 0-5 team now that I've seen in a while. So had a lot of respect for them. Knew their defense was solid. Held, I think, BYU and Air Force under 2 or 3 scores, and we knew it was gonna be a dogfight. But on that final stand, the emotions were high. I think everyone's, you know, heart rate in the stadium was over 150, and the Apple Watches were signaling exercise and all that stuff. So it was fun though. Those are nights that you train for and you wish you get, because the emotional roller coaster, you can't trade it for anything. So great job by the defense. And from my perspective, Having been in a lot of the scenarios, as you mentioned, the Arkansas, the Southern Miss, you've been in a lot of close games. My focus is just going to be the calm in the storm. Regardless of what happened, you got to, be that sense of normalcy, win or lose. So I was trying to prepare for whatever happened. But the guys did a great job. Kobe mental toughness was outstanding in the second half to do what he did. And, the guys rallied behind him. We had just enough, but wasn't our standard, but we found a way to win.
Yeah, B, congrats on the win this week. Your studio looks a little smaller tonight. Um, but hey, I wanted to ask you one of the things that is just so impressive to me, just jumps off the page. Cooley goes for 106 on the ground last week, and then C.J. Daniels finally kind of breaks out a little bit, 157 through the passing game. So on average now we're at 255 yards per game in rush, 235 through air attack. And as I'm thinking about that balance of what's going on there, how difficult is that to defend? I know you're on the other side of the ball, but man, that's such a sweet balance for teams to prepare against.
Absolutely, it's a nightmare to defend, and I think having a strong rush game and having a strong passing game already is awful to defend, and then you throw in a quarterback that can run to the end zone every play. It's super hard. So the way teams approach is they typically try to take away one or two of those avenues, and they're going to say you have to beat us with this. You're going to have to beat us with the pitch this week. You're going to have to beat us with. You're going to have to go over the top of our safeties and throw bombs. You're going to have to make Caden run. Like they're going to pick what they want us to do to try to beat them, and the coaches find that out early and they adjust as the game goes on. But each defensive coordinator will try to play to their advantage and pick who they want to take away. But I trust our coaches will make the adjustments they've made the first 5 games and find a way. So.
Well, Brendan, we hated that we missed this segment with you last week. I know we had to change our schedule, obviously, with the midweek games, and the team did as well. And you had a team meeting last week during this time, but glad to have you back this week. And as always, rocking the RT Rogers hat. Go ahead and give us some information on RT Rogers, who they are, and how we can get in contact with them.
Absolutely. RT Rogers is based out of Southern West Virginia. Greg Rogers runs at Liberty Alum. Great man, great company, and was talking with him earlier this week. He wants me to make sure primary marketing areas are Southeast West Virginia and Southwest Virginia. So if you're in those areas, make sure that's your go-to. Your neighbors are all hitting them up, so you might as well too. So selling fuel, lubricants, tanks, and equipment are the best in the oil industry. So hit them up.
Awesome. Appreciate their support as always. So Brendan, I want to talk about that offensive rushing attack. I haven't checked the stats today after this past weekend's games got finished up, but Liberty's ranked. They were number 2 in the country. I'm sure they're still up in the top 5 or so for rushing yards per game. And this past week had 191, I believe it was, against Sam Houston. The first time this season the team's been held under 200 yards in a game rushing. Which is still a good night, right? I mean, a lot of teams would be happy to have 191 on the ground, but it seemed like, especially after halftime, the team has got some injuries at running back, and you don't have to get into any details there, but obviously Von Blue's out. Quentin's got banged up there in the second quarter and didn't come back to the fourth quarter, and Billy was held out. But how much does that just give us into the mindset of a player? How much does having, some of those key contributors, especially, like multiple of them, your top 3 rushers really on the season, unavailable or dinged up and maybe not at 100%. How much does that impact, maybe some of the other guys on the offensive line and the other running backs and things like that?
Yeah, when you go into the game, our guys are kind of banged up, and there's a few that are out for a little bit and some that are going to be back, and it kind of is what it is. But I would say first and foremost, we probably aren't going to change much play calling at all, specifically because we have so much trust in the guys that are behind them. James and Victor and all those guys who'll be getting more reps. We see what they do every day in practice, and we're super confident. But as far as an offensive line perspective, it's just we have a veteran group, older guys. I think our youngest starter's in his 4th season, so you naturally put it on you and say we have to be the bridge, the gap between what needs to happen. And every single game, you're going to have guys out. The offense isn't going to play well. The defense isn't going to play well. Something's going to happen on special teams. You just got to pick it up, and someone's got to take it and bridge that gap. So, I mean, from an outside perspective, it kind of stinks to lose some of the guys, but we don't see it that way. So.
Brandon, the 5-day turnaround is a big deal. You know, that's kind of what we're all talking about out here in civilian land. But from Thursday to Tuesday, give us a little peek behind the curtain. What are you guys talking about with that? Are you? I mean, it is what it is, right? So everybody's got that pinch in that time frame right now. But how much of a focus has the coaching staff put on that, or have you guys been talking about it necessarily?
Yeah, it's the first time we've ever done this 5-day turnaround. Coming off an emotional, physical game. It would have been different if it was a boat race in the first half and we had all of our guys playing, but to go down to the final wire, that takes a lot out of you. And a lot of guys played a lot of snaps, but they've done a great job making sure they have the first couple days to recover. Hit a little bit today, and honestly, we've treated it like a normal week. We've done practice and film and weights, but at the end of the day, guys are going to hurt a little bit more than normal. But you play football, feelings during the game can't really matter, and during practice they can't matter. So the team put their feelings aside, and we've done what we needed to do. So when we fly out tomorrow night to Alabama, good old saying, the hay's in the barn, there ain't much more to do. So 4.5 days, and that's what you got. Made the most of it.
So, Brendan, a lot of talk's been made about the defense, and should be with their. I think they got 11 interceptions on the season, and the Joker mask and all of that. But Liberty's also number 3 in turnover margin, and some of that has to do, obviously, not just with the defense, but the offense protecting the ball. And we saw an interception last week from Caden, and a fumble a couple weeks ago at FIU, and all that. But overall, the offense has done really well in protecting the ball. Which is really impressive, especially in this type of offense where you got the option. I mean, there was a pitch Thursday night that I saw, and I think the whole crowd had a collective sigh that, oh man, how did we not fumble that ball? But how much does this coaching staff, preach into ball control and security, going back to training camp and even week to week during the season right now?
Yeah, in the triple option, you're naturally going to have more of an opportunity to let that ball loose. There's a lot of pitching and handoffs and dives and pulls and a lot of unfamiliar ground that can be uncomfortable at times. So I remember from the first day they got here, first day of practice, and every single day, I mean, they're doing ball security all the time. That's something they do every single day, and they're focusing on it. And, I think he brought in one of the first meetings and talked just about the ball. That's what matters. So it's been a huge emphasis, and they practice like that too. The defense is trying to rip it out during practice. They're practicing, hugging it tight, and the defense practicing ripping it away obviously has produced turnovers for them, and then us having to hold on to the ball during practice has helped us. Obviously you're going to make mistakes. It happens. We're humans, but to minimize those, you make your bad days good, your good days great, and that's how you help reduce that turnover margin. So they've done a great job with it, and it's been a heavy emphasis.
Be wide open question here, but looking on to Jacksonville State, what are you looking forward to in this game? It's gonna be a good one.
Absolutely, physical team. They're hungry, and I know we played ULM, who was their head coach now, was the offensive coordinator then. A lot of new staff from there, so they're kind of familiar with us. But, I mean, they are a really hard-playing team. They're confident right now. I would say the biggest thing that stands out to me is we have to play a full 4 quarters because that team has been down 20 points at halftime, like 1 or 2 times, and ended up beating the tar out of the team in the second half. So if we're up 30 points at halftime, just harping the message, next play, next play, next play until that clock goes. I know it's cliche, but against a team like this, with the way they're playing, you have to be like that. So it's going to be a fun battle, a lot on the line. They're a top conference team. We're getting to the point where we're starting to talk conference championship, who gets home field advantage. Like, these games matter in the long run. We're well aware of that, and the guys are going to put their best foot forward for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're so far into the season and really about halfway done, which I hate to even think like that. But Brendan, thanks as always for joining us, and we look forward to watching the guys on Tuesday night down in Alabama, and hopefully we can get to 4-0 on Tuesday night on ESPNU as well. Appreciate you joining us.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brendan. So, Jason, about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, when we had the remnants of that tropical storm run through here, Virginia area and Lynchburg, I was out of town. I think that was when I was in Miami for the FIU game. I came home, and my wife said, we got a leak in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, man, what the heck happened? And come to find out, there was some leaking going down through the roof, one of the shingles and things. But take us through what do some home repair negotiations go into? Take us into some of that.
Yeah, great question, John. Some of the most important parts really of the home inspection process are those negotiations. And we're back to somewhat of a normal residential market in the sense that we had people passing on home inspections just so they could get their offer accepted back in the day. But now we're kind of back to a normal market condition. So you really do want to make sure that you have that home inspection. And to fast forward all the way to the end, once that home inspection is completed, if you and I are buyer and seller, and I'm buying your house, and I say, hey, John, there's 5 or 6 things I want you to fix, including that dripping faucet that you just mentioned a second ago. I'm going to present that to you, and then that becomes our second round of negotiations. And so it really is your second exit ramp, if you will, if the deal doesn't go well, or if you look at my list and you say, you know what, Jason, all the things that you're asking for is a little crazy. Instead of these 6 things, I'll do 3 of them, and we go back and forth and negotiate that. And if you can't come to terms, buyer and seller, that is a chance to walk away from the contract. So very important peace of mind as far as walking out of the contract, but more so peace of mind from a buyer's perspective of feeling confident about the property that you're buying. So don't skip the home inspection. One of my favorite parts of the negotiation too is to help my buyers walk through that process.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. And I agree, having bought a couple of houses so far, and that home inspection, I look forward to actually getting it when I am the buyer, because you can see, make sure you got a good guy that's doing those inspections for you as well, because you can see what you're getting into, and you don't want any mistakes or anything creeping up on you after you bought the house, because that can be a problem. But Jason, appreciate you as always joining us. Make sure any of you looking for any real estate needs, reach out to Jason porterrealestate@gmail.com. And Liberty guy through and through. Be traveling with the team down to Jacksonville once again with the team on Tuesday with a big game. Looking forward to listen to your call. I won't be making the trip, unfortunately, but I know you and Alan will be bringing the heat with the rest of the team down there in Jacksonville. Thanks, Jason.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, John.
All right, let's get in. Zach McLaren's next up as he brings us some updates of Liberty Flames athletics around the mountain. I don't know if he got an update on field hockey, but they did take down #1 North Carolina earlier this afternoon. So shout out to field hockey. Keep things rolling, and let's get to Zach.
What's up, guys? We are back with your weekly Flame Sports recap. Let's get right into it. Women's soccer tied FIU 0-0 on Saturday. The Lady Flames are now 11-1-1 and 2-1-1 in Conference USA play. They will look to rebound with a win against Jacksonville State on Thursday. Men's soccer unfortunately went 0-2 during the week for the first time all season. They lost to Chicago State and SIUE. The Flames are 7-4 overall and 2-2 in OVC play. They will face Eastern Illinois on Thursday, looking to rebound with a win there. Women's volleyball lost to number 25 Western Kentucky 3-0 and 3-2. They did rebound with a win over New Mexico State 3-1 on Saturday before falling today by the same score. They will face Jacksonville State this Friday and Saturday. Look, guys, we're a field hockey school. Number 10 field hockey goes 2-0 in the week, defeating Villanova 6-0, blanking them, and then upsetting UNC, #1 team in the country, 2-1 in a double overtime thriller this Sunday afternoon.
Sion, shot, goal! Liberty with the double overtime winner here in Chapel Hill.
The Lady Flames will travel to Quinnipiac this Friday to continue that hot streak and the best start in their program's history. Football is 5-0. The Flames started midweek on the mountain strong, defeating Sam Houston State 21-16 on Thursday to open midweek on the mountain with a W. Kobe Singleton coming in clutch with a pass deflection to help the Flames secure the victory and a goal line stand. Liberty will face Jacksonville State this Tuesday in a battle of 2 first-place teams in Conference USA. That's all from this week's Liberty Sports Recap. As always, go Flames!
What a field hockey ending that was. I need more information because those UNC players freaked out like something bad happened and went running over to the ref. And she just shot the ball into the net. Like, what could have possibly been a foul that those Carolina players were mad about, but irrelevant. The goal stands, Liberty wins, and we are joined again by one of our favorite weekly guests, and that is the former player, the former coach, and now one of us as a fan, and that is Kyle DeArmond. Kyle, how are we doing this evening?
Hey, we are doing great. It is it's always tough to follow the excitement that Zeke brings with the 71 seconds around Liberty. It's all good things. All good things when Liberty's winning games. So shout out to field hockey. That's a huge win for them. And yeah, stoked to be here. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's a Sunday night. Flames play in 2 days. We played Thursday. It's weird. It's very strange.
It is odd, the whole Sunday night thing, but I can't imagine how depressing that segment would be if we were just like a very bottom of the barrel.
I don't think we would have it. I don't think we would have it.
No. That if we would have been bad, that would have been 89 by like 86, whatever it is. That would have been done by mid-September. We'll take it.
Yeah, keep on going, Zeke. Atta baby.
Well, Kyle, take us back to Thursday night. We talked about it a little bit already, but before we get into Jacksonville State, man, what a crazy ending. I don't think any of us were expecting such a close game, but for you, what was it like watching the defensive stand after, we saw Sam Houston pretty much go down the field at will on those first 96 yards? What was it like watching that?
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier. I mean, I think the play of the game, obviously Kobe, but before that, the punt by Max Morgan to pin him down there, you just can't. I mean, that is a huge play. I mean, if he puts it off his foot, and it's a 60-yard drive instead of 96-yard drive. I mean, that is a total game changer. So to pin him down there, to really put the stress on him. Yeah, it was very stressful watching it for sure. And then to have that many plays inside the goal line is crazy. I was shocked that they spiked it on first down because normally, I mean, you can run a play quick enough to be able to truly have 4 plays, but them spiking it made me feel like, okay, we got to hold them for 3 plays here. So if they would have just ran a play, I think there was like 27 seconds maybe left when they did that. I mean, it could have, I think they could have run a play, but yeah, unbelievable defensive stand by those guys. And the fact that Kobe had that pass interference call in the same drive that was so late, the sideline begged for that call. I've been there. I get it. I've done it, but they begged for the call. The official threw it. Kobe could have been down on himself, but instead he just continued to bow up and made a huge play at the end of the game. And I think what's cool is, it was almost like he knew what was coming. He knew that the single receiver to the boundary with that split was going to run a fade. And that is coaching, that is film study. That's just feeling the game as it goes on. They had the same type of play. They threw that back shoulder fade for a touchdown on the other side, early in the game. So for Kobe to know that and to recognize that and to keep his eyes on the quarterback, I mean, that took a lot of guts to be able to do that because, normally those DB coaches, I don't know what, they're telling them now, but, telling them not to look back immediately. But he's like he knew what was coming. So huge play. Shout out to him. Shout out to the defense. Great win.
Absolutely. Probably the play of the season so far. And, we'll see how the rest of the season goes if something can dethrone that. But offensively, it was a tale of 2 halves. We had the first half, 21 points, second half, not moving the ball as much. Give us some of your takeaways, what you saw in the first half, what you saw in the second half, and what you think contributed to such obvious differences between the two.
Yeah, I think in the first half, Caden was pressing a little bit. We ran a smash concept. That's where, you have one receiver go to the flats and another receiver run a corner. He kind of got baited into throwing that corner, but you can never go late to that. I mean, you can't go. I mean, sometimes you can, but you don't ever want to like pump it to the flat and then go and throw it to the corner because the cornerback's just going to fall off and intercept it like he did. So, and then obviously being down Billy Lucas, which was a surprise, and you're already down Blue Vaughn, and then Quentin Cooley gets hurt with that shoulder injury. I felt like going in halftime, like, uh-oh, this is not good. We run the football. We run the football efficiently. We need to be able to run the football, and we're already down some running backs. But, the training staff probably gave Quentin Cooley a nice little shot in the shoulder, and he's probably hurting. And I would be surprised if he's practiced the last couple of days based off of just that shoulder, because that takes a lot. That's a tough injury, but
and real
out and play, huge. And then CJ Daniels stepping up. CJ just continues to get better and better and better. I think we talked about it last week about how he's been injured. He really missed some spring ball and then, some of training camp. And so for him to get back into the game and get back into the season and really become the number one target that we're throwing the ball to, I mean, that guy just makes plays.
And just real quick, Bedgood, I feel, took some snaps out of the backfield as well. And his story never gets old. So that's been awesome to see, his transition back into playing football and to be a contributor to this team.
Yeah, Kyle, looking at Jacksonville State now as we move forward, obviously it's a big game. Liberty's 5-0 overall, 3-0 in conference. Jacksonville State 5-1 overall, 3-0 in conference. Only two teams currently at 3-0 atop the ASUN. Former ASUN teams in other sports, but now Conference USA. Only two teams at 3-0 in the Conference USA, and Western Kentucky's 2-0. But when I think about Jacksonville State in football, I think back to those two games we had against them not too long ago, 2016, 2017, and Liberty was at the time, fresh off that FCS playoff appearance in 2014, where we won a game, beat JMU, and then took it to Villanova, almost knocked them off too on an upset on the road. But so just a couple years later, we got Jacksonville State coming in, which is a traditionally very strong FCS team, top 10 type team, top 10 type program. 2016, they come in and they just hit us in the mouth, and it was embarrassing, to be honest. Then fast forward the next season, 2017, which I believe you were on staff then. We open up the year, knock off Baylor to get to 1-0. And again, this is just a few months, 6-7 months after we announced we were going FBS. So we knock off Baylor to get to 1-0. Buckshot and AGG have their coming out party. And I'm sitting there. I went to that game and I'm on the way back, a 20-some hour drive. I'm crazy, I know, but a 20-some hour drive. I had a lot of time to think. I'm looking at our schedule. I'm like, there's only one team on our schedule that can beat us, and that's Jacksonville State. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we're going to be 10-1. Of course, the season didn't go as we expected it to. But then when we play Jacksonville State, again, same thing. They just rolled over us. Felt like we weren't even competitive. Do you have the same type of memories of those games when you think back to them?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me there, John, of my coaching career and being 0-for against Jacksonville State. Now, the thing with Jacksonville State is they have some freaks. For any Flames fans who have not seen this team, they look like Alabama, Auburn, Jacksonville State. The freaks that these guys have on their roster, they have dudes at wide receiver. They have running backs. They have massive defensive linemen. They have linebackers that can run. They have safeties that will fly up and smack you in the face. They have long corners. The state of Alabama, and I was responsible for recruiting it when I was there. These kids, there's teams everywhere in the state of Alabama, and Jacksonville State has done a really good job of finding these kids, in the small towns and going and getting FBS transfers or FBS bounce backs, what we call FBS bounce backs. We're now FBS, but these Power 5 bounce backs from Alabama and Auburn. They made a killing on getting those guys to come to Jacksonville State. And so when we played them before, I remember looking out there being like, dear Lord, this feels like we're playing a Power 5 team. And now they have Rich Rodriguez, and, we played him when he was the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Monroe. And that was a tough game, but they can just get players at Jacksonville State. And he has obviously got them to believe in what they are doing, and they're winning football games, and they're doing it convincingly, and they're winning the tough games. They've won an overtime game against Sam Houston State. So this is definitely going to be our toughest battle this is definitely going to be our toughest battle physically. These guys are just country boys that will just fly up and try to take your face off, and they will run by you on offense. They are very, very impressive, and it's definitely going to be the Flames' toughest match.
Super excited for it. John, quick question. Would a casual fan drive 20 hours to and from a football game?
That's a good question. I don't know. You have to ask a casual fan.
For those who don't know, someone called John Manson a casual fan on Twitter. Genuinely very funny to call the man who is all things a sea of red a casual. But Kyle, we are coming off of a game Thursday night, and we are now playing Tuesday. That is crazy when you think college
brutal.
football. Normally, worst is Saturday to Friday, Saturday to Thursday, never Thursday to Tuesday. Talk about some of the quick turnarounds you had in your coaching days, and what are you telling the players? What can we expect to come out? You come out fast to try to beat that, just keep it going, or what can we look for?
Well, I think it's week 6, and so a lot of the physicality of practice is now gone because you're going against your scout team, and so that's been removed completely from practice. And so I think a lot of it now is like, hey, we have, and even when you go Saturday to Saturday, about halfway through the season, it's all about staying healthy and getting healthy throughout the week. And so I would be shocked if Quentin Cooley has practiced all week just with his shoulder. He's a veteran guy. He's been the premier running back in our system the whole year. That guy he's walking through, he's non-contact, he's going through all the mental reps. So it is a difficult transition to go from Saturday to Thursday. The Thursday to Tuesday is weird because, like we talked about a little bit last week, it's just a very strange schedule because you have a Saturday and Sunday in between there where the players are off, where they normally have practice or where they normally have class. So their schedule is completely off and completely different. So I think that's the biggest thing is the adjustment for the players of having that Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully they use it to their benefit to really study film, to know what they're going to be going against, because when you have that quick turnaround, there's not going to really be a ton of change on offense or defense. You're not trying to rewrite the wheel. You're trying to get healthy. You're trying to study the opponent. You're trying to put in your game plan, practice for 2 days, and then, like Brendan said, Hayes in the barn, it's time to go play. So I think getting healthy is the number one thing for our team right now, especially with a bunch of guys that are out. It's get healthy. It's study the film, and you have to be an adult. You got to be mature about these situations. You can't just roll through there and just not study because it's a short week. I mean, you really got to put the time and effort in, and hopefully the guys have done that.
Kyle, thank you so much, as always. I always learn so much. I know all of our listeners do as well. I played high school football. I was a kicker. You might have seen my tweet, banging a 30-yarder this week.
You got any eligibility left, Richie?
Yeah, you every time I think you need to just continue to let people know, I can do this.
I'm here. The problem is I'm a head case. My mental game, weak, very weak. I would.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the special teams at all, but obviously that needs to get fixed. Hopefully we can find somebody who can make a field goal. But it is, you talk about nervous. I think I'm more nervous when we tried out the field goal team than I am 4th and goal from the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
It's geez, come on, we gotta figure something out. And they will.
Also,
they will. Let's be positive here. They will. Yeah. We're
positive vibes. That's right. Also, if we're in the trust tree, I'm from an Atlantic City suburb. I have no idea what the hay is in the barn means, but I love it. I'm going to start using that, and I just got to make sure I use it right, or my colleagues are going to be like, what is this guy talking about? The hay is in the barn. They're going to send me to some facility. But I love it. But Kyle, thank you so much as always. It's an absolute blessing to have you on. We're looking forward to catching up with you next week after the game Tuesday night.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, we we are back. It is that time of the podcast where we talk about a little gambling. And there is no one I'd rather, just a little bit, there's no one I'd rather talk a little gambling with than my man, my main man, CT Christian Taylor. How are we doing this Sunday night?
I'm doing pretty good, but a little birdie told me you may be doing even better.
Yeah, I'm up $1,000 today. I hit 2 pretty big parlays, NFL. I did not have a great college football Saturday, but sometimes you're lying in bed and you go, you know what? I'm just going to throw $20, play a little roulette, and next thing you know, that $20 turns into $350, and then you have like a $900 Sunday, and it's a good week. Putting that money to the side, saving it for a rainy day. But it's good to know you can bounce back from a mediocre college football Saturday. But a Saturday where we didn't have to watch the Liberty Flames and their updates. CT, break it down for us. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's true. It was honestly great just to be able to watch stress-free from a Liberty standpoint, not stress-free from our pick standpoint. But it was really nice just to be able to get to sit back and watch. That being the case, nobody went positive last week. We're all in the negative. You're still up on the season, which is great. I went back into the red, and John just keeps on falling off there his hot start. But yeah, I don't know if it was because we made our picks on Sunday. I'm going to blame it on that, but we did all struggle last week. And Joel, go ahead.
No, it really is the ultimate just game changer where you have to make picks. The lines just came out, and they're going to move sometimes by a touchdown when injury reports come out and all that, where you gotta game at a number, and sometimes it moves. But it is what it is. Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't work in your favor. But we have our guest picker standings up on the screen now.
Joel went 4-5 last week, so he was about down just over 1 unit. So he's tied with Buckshot at the bottom of the barrel. But our guest tonight, hopefully, he knows a thing or two about gambling, and maybe he can even pass Sam at the top.
I'm hoping. It is pretty cool that none of our guest pickers have had just an awful week. Like 4-5. I'll take a 4-5 week for 13 straight weeks, lose 13 units, and go, I'll see you in September. It was great. But I have a feeling Austin Marsh is just going to get 2-7, lose it all. But
naturally,
we are lucky to be joined this week by someone outside of the Liberty bubble, someone who might be a fan of another Virginia sports team. But this evening we are joined by Colby Dant, and I hope I'm saying that right. You may see him on Twitter as the Pick Dundee. I just followed you on Twitter, and just looking at some of your tweets, what I love, it's not just gambling. It's about sports, and at the end of the day, sports are fun. Gambling is supposed to be fun. And I do want to give that normally a couple times a year, I do want to say gambling is fun. Do not let this be do not gamble anything you are not ready to lose. It's all in good fun and makes for great stories. But Pick Dundee, thank you so much for joining us. Before we jump in, tell us a little bit about where we can find you. Where can we catch you on socials? Where can we get more of your content?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'll piggyback a little bit on what you're saying there on loving sports, and it seems like you guys do too. And one of the things I've always appreciated when I catch a Liberty basketball game or football game is the passion that they have. So love what you guys are doing there. And look, I'm on Twitter or X or whatever the heck you want to call it, at the Colby D. And I host the the college football experience, also the college basketball experience, for Sports Gambling Podcast Network. One of the original, we have 50 some people working for us, but I was there in the garage days. I'll put it like that. All right. But that doesn't really mean anything. I'm just just a guy picking games. You know what I mean?
No doubt. That's awesome. Now, a lot of our people, honestly, they're not necessarily much into the college football community or even like the gambling community or anything like that. What I want to ask you first off, so I know you've said you've been doing this for a minute. So tell us how you got your start just into the whole sports sphere, gambling sphere, and everything else.
Sure. Well, first, I mean, I should mention that I'm like one of 5 siblings that were all guys, so my household was always sports. I don't even know how that's possible. It defies odds right there. But I was, and I pursue, and I do stand up comedy. I've been doing stand up comedy for over 20 years, and I was out here doing stand up, and a friend of mine that also did stand up back in 2011 started this thing called the Sports Gambling Podcast, but they were only doing NFL because he's a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, and he was doing my Toys for Tots show, and he might have had a few cocktails and told me, "Hey, do this thing called podcast." The only thing I didn't really understand what a podcast was back then, and then I didn't even know what to make of what he was telling me. I was just like, this guy's had a few, and then I saw him again at a show maybe a couple months later, and then he's like, "Hey, I gotta get you on this podcast thing. I know you know sports really well." And also we did share at the time, we a couple trips to Vegas as comics where we were big on March Madness and stuff like that. So he knew that I liked, betting and stuff like that. And that was kind of the birth of us. And I was like, yeah, you guys don't have anyone doing college football or college basketball. You're messing up. So, and that's kind of how this whole thing started. Like I said, I used to have to push a lawnmower out of the way to record. And now we have a studio and everything here in Los Angeles. So I don't know what we're doing, but it seems to be working. And I'm trying to, as John Lovett says in Wedding Singer, I'm here to reap all the benefits.
No, I love it. I love it. And you can vouch for this. There was a time before this all became legal, before they were DraftKings commercials everywhere, where if you were the person at Thanksgiving that had the under in the Lions game, like grandma said, and please pray for Richie Longshots' soul for gambling for the noon games. And now everyone's like, oh yeah, check out my parlay. It truly has changed, but it's been cool to see. And again, responsible, but again, have fun. So we got some games. CT, break it down for us this week.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start off with Tuesday night. Our Liberty Flames playing at Jacksonville State, as we've previewed. All you, me, John, we're on Liberty, and I do have a reason why. So at least for me, I expected this line to be at 2 or 3. Honestly, I thought I saw it was the difference between us and Jacksonville State last week, and most power ratings were about 6 points or so. You give 2 points for the home field advantage, that gets it down to 4. And then based on last week's results, I was probably going to say give Jacksonville State half a point to a point, and take a little bit away from us as well. So I was surprised at this opener at 4.5. I think it's already up to 6 in some places. So Liberty's gotten steamed early. I think that's a good sign. Richie, you and I were talking a little bit as well. For this, we're only doing full game bets, but you and I were really interested in Liberty first half as well, potentially.
Yeah, just looking at what Liberty has done the past couple of weeks, getting off to a fast start, kind of slowing things down a little bit in the second half. I put on the Google sheet, I went, give me Liberty first half. And then CT texted me, I was like, no, we don't do first half. It's like, all right, fine, just give me Liberty game. If I couldn't have gone, I would have gone with the under. I think it's a lot of points. But again, it could turn into a shootout. Again, it could turn into a second half that things slow down. But for the better of my Twitter mentions, I had to go with Liberty minus 4.5.
But Colby doesn't have to worry about that. So he is on Jacksonville State. So if you want to break that one down for us.
Well, look, I mean, I understand that it's like when over the summer, I did an Ohio State podcast, and at the end we're going game by game, and he had them losing to Penn State. He couldn't pick the Michigan, which I understand. I understand the logic there. You guys got a business to run at the same time. But no, look, I think Liberty can still win this game. I just think 4.5 points. I'm fascinated by this matchup because I think both coaches are so underrated. I think Jamie Chadwell, I hope he stays at Liberty forever, because I with the 12-team playoff coming and what Liberty, can do from a fan standpoint, from a financial standpoint, I think, they could really turn Liberty into a power. And I think he's the right guy to do that. But at the same time, I also know he's in year one, and you saw it in the Sam Houston game. I thought where, they were pushed a little bit. Sam Houston's much better than their record. I knew that. But at the same time, Liberty looked a little human, and that's fair. It's game 4 or 5 for Jamie Chadwell, and then you add in Rich Rodriguez, who I've been a big fan of for a long time. Back to his time as I remember him when he was an offensive coordinator at Tulane, and they went undefeated in '98, and his halftime adjustments. I took Middle Tennessee last week, guys. I took Middle Tennessee against Jacksonville State, and I'm up early. I'm like, oh, there we go, right? And he did that 2 straight weeks. He did it against Sam Houston. He did it against Middle Tennessee, and I really buy into his coaching, and that's going to be the fascinating point for me to watch this game. Besides the betting aspect, as someone that just loves football, is Rich Rodriguez has been amazing at halftime adjustments so far this season, in my opinion. So can Jamie Chadwell? That chess match going between both coaches, because I fully expect this crowd. Now I'm curious because I've watched Jacksonville State a lot in the FCS, but we never caught them on weeknights. So I'm curious how the fan turnout will be for them. I do think they have a passionate fan base over the years. They've been a very good FCS for a long time, as I'm sure you guys well know. But I just think 4.5 points at home. Now I understand there's the Maction element to this, where like you play those Tuesday games and you bring in half your crowd because people are working, people aren't commuting. So there's that element to it, but I just think 4.5 points, Liberty still may well win this game, and they might be up early. Like Jacksonville State's really done the past few games, has got down, but I think at home with Rich Rodriguez, and the fact that he can really break out in the second half. If you watch those other 2 games, they put up a ton of points once he made those adjustments, and they have home run threats. It's that speed option, so they could take it 70, 80 yards at any time. Very similar to Jamie Chadwell in a way. Jamie Chadwell made a name for that at Coastal Carolina too, in a similar way there. So I just think it's a little bit too many points for a home team that's playing with really, really, a ton of confidence right now. And he's got 2 different quarterback options that can keep you kind of guessing as far as who you're going to see. So that at the end of the day, I just thought probably a field goal game. I actually would favor Liberty, but I think the fact it's at home, the fact that Jamie Chadwell's in a much, this is Rich Rod's second year. I think he's much more familiar with his personnel than say Jamie Chadwell is at this point. So that was my logic on taking the 4.5 there. It wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville State won on the money line, but at the same time, I do think Liberty deserves to be the favorite.
People forget real quick, CT. Rich Rod was going to be the next coach at Alabama. Like that was going to happen. And for whatever reason, all fell apart. Like this guy is legit. He knows what he's doing. I think he's in a good spot now. So very worried about this game. I just want that on the record.
I think it's a fantastic fit between the program of Jacksonville State and Rich Rod. Like I think it's great in so many different regards. And
he's got no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. I will say, when I was watching them against Sam Houston the other week, the 2-minute drill they ran was the most impressive 2-minute drill I've ever seen before. They were running the play. They got a first down. They're running every play before the chains were even set. It was unreal. I don't know how they call plays that fast. They're a great coach team, and it's going to be a great matchup. That being said, the one thing I will say, Colby, is you were the first guest all season to go against the Flames. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And on top of that, we do have a bit of a little rivalry between us and JMU fans. And I did see that you put up a tweet a little earlier today praising JMU. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, my co-host, first off, that I do my show with, played defensive back at JMU, but also in general, I think JMU, first off, I love JMU and Liberty in the FBS. And I think if people look around at Virginia and Virginia Tech struggles, I think you can put some of that into what Liberty and JMU, they're serious about football and they're serious about winning. But the fact that JMU played 3 straight road games, the fact that the NCAA deprived them of playing in the Sun Belt Championship last year. They got a chip on their shoulder. I think they're I've been super impressed. I thought they would come up to the FBS and be solid. I did not think they would be as good, especially along the line of scrimmage. Like when they won 3 straight road games against teams with all, 500 or better winning. I mean, I respect the Troy Trojans. I respect the Utah State Aggies. I think, they're having a kind of a down year. The Aggies are, but they're still solid. I respect South Alabama. I respect these teams that they've got. I mean, they went on the road and beat Virginia. That I somewhat respect, they don't really take football too serious. So, somewhat respect, but it's a Power 5 win. So I think JMU's, I'm looking forward to I hope that you guys play JMU. And I'm not even, like I said, I actually went to, I was an East Carolina guy. So I don't even like JMU. They beat us down, but at the same time, I just try to give respect where respect's due. And I've been really impressed with their program on the jump up.
No doubt. If it's honestly a shame that they're not bowl eligible, because I would love to be able to see us versus JMU in a bowl game. I think that'd be fantastic.
100%.
Yeah. That being the case, let's move on to the other 2 Conference USA games. Is there one of these that you like maybe more than the other? And give us the breakdown on that.
Yeah, I love the FIU game. I think Mike McIntyre is one of the most underrated coaches. He did a great job at San Jose State back in 15 years ago, I feel like, or 10 years ago. And then he had Colorado's best year, in a long time. I think he's a really good coach that gets the maximum out of his team. I pretty much take them on the over every year, and it hits, with the exception of that time at Colorado. But the one thing that was important, if you follow FIU, I call them the airport. Is they switched quarterbacks. They were going with Grayson James at the end of last season. That La Tech game where they threw for a solid, I believe it was 4 yards, and they almost won the game. They were up for 59 minutes, right? So people give Iowa a hard time. They didn't look at that FIU with 4 yards in game 1. But ever since they switched to Jenkins at the quarterback spot, he's a dual threat quarterback. Now I know you read his stats, you say 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Just the fact he's dual threat, he puts pressure on defenses, and then they have a couple good backs in Shamari Lawrence and Owens, their other back. And the fact that UTEP is in kind of a pivotal year with Dana Dimmel kind of seems like to me that they've kind of quit on him. And I think they're going to get a new head coach this offseason. And you're telling me it's at FIU where I'm not counting on a huge home edge, but at the same time, I think FIU is the better coach team. I think the players are buying into what Mike McIntyre is doing. So I like FIU at home there as probably my favorite play between all 3 of the CUSA plays.
And
go ahead.
Yeah. I really like UTEP Stadium.
It's hell yeah.
That's my tiny little bird brain, my one-track mind. I think I read an article in the beginning of the year that said UTEP would be underrated, and I can't quit them. If you broke down my picks and which games I've lost, UTEP probably accounts for 3 to 4 of them. But you just shoot or shoot. I don't know what you want me to say, but no, it's probably a bad pick, but it is what it is. Not my most confident, but again, I'm making these picks. The lines come out at 3:30. CT's in the inbox at 4 going, hey, make these picks. So I got to ride what I read in August to kind of to get me through making picks like this. But it is what it is. It gives me rooting interest, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to bet this game. I'm not going to physically put Richie Longshot's money on this game. So it is what it is.
With that being the case, Colby, do you in your opinion, for doing this for some years now, are you somebody that likes to hit lines right when they come out, or are you somebody that you wait throughout the week, see how things are developing?
I think it's kind of situationally. Sometimes, yes. When they come right out, you could really find an edge on a couple games that I think you'll like. But also, you also try to play that game of I bet that's going to go the other way. I bet I can get a better number on Friday or whatever day. So I'm kind of all over the board. Luckily I don't have to. This is my 9 to 5 essentially. So like, I can come in every day and see the board and say, okay, well this is that. I understand, like when I talk to my brother who's like, I've been busy at work, I haven't had a chance, I didn't know the number got to that point. But if you pay attention to it, if you got some time, if you're working from home or something, I think that's always a very sharp way to look at it, is when the numbers drop, you can find some really good numbers.
Absolutely. Let's just run through one favorite for each of us at this point. I'll go ahead and start it off, and Richie and then Colby. For me, right away, it's Washington -2. I know I saw a couple comments already that it's saying Washington is not beating Oregon. I fully disagree. One, road Bo Nix is not the same Bo Nix, straight up. He's a different animal at home. On top of that, I mean, just Washington being the home team, having the couple points when you have two ranked teams and the home team is the higher ranked team, they cover the spread, and I think it's at like 65% or so. So with that being the case, I really like Washington in this spot. I think the Pac-12 is just going to keep on eating each other throughout the rest of the season. I think it's going to be extremely entertaining, but give me Washington in this one.
That was going to be my pick until you felt the same way. Again, Bo Nix on the road, totally different. I love Michael Penix Jr. I think he is a superstar. He's my Heisman pick right now. It's super cool for Washington. They're the most underrated team in the country. And yeah, there's that West Coast bias, but it is what it is. So I'm going to pivot USC Notre Dame over. USC could play IMG on Saturday, and that game would be over 71 points because IMG would find a way to score 17. So I'm fully convinced that this is going to be an absolute 52-45. I think USC wins the game. Notre Dame's kind of hit a plateau. I hope not, because I like Sam Hartman, but they have the potential to air it out against a defense that is wildly shaky. That they have a ton of issues, but they have an incredible offense. So that's my pick right there.
Am I so for Washington, the Washington-Oregon game, I love Washington here. I thought Oregon should have lost to Texas Tech in Lubbock. I think Washington is one of the sneakiest people talk about Autzen, and Autzen's fantastic. If you haven't been to Autzen, get up there, go to a game. They're passionate. They're everything that's great with college football. But at the same time, Washington is a very hard place to go into as well. It gets super loud. And you add in the fact, to me, the weakness of Oregon that Colorado wasn't able to exploit this, because Colorado, with all due respect to Coach Prime, they're not there yet as a program. Their offensive line is not good. Their defensive line is not very good. Well, Washington does have a much better offensive line, and they're going to have the home crowd behind them. I think one of the weaknesses of Oregon is their secondary. Christian Gonzalez is off in the NFL now. And I think when you look at Washington's wideouts, they, short of Ohio State, I don't think you can find a team with better wideouts with Polk and McMillan and Odunze. They're going to be able to exploit Oregon. And then it becomes, can Bo Nix keep up? And I think Bo Nix is a very good quarterback, and I think there will be a lot of points in this game. But I just think Washington's too much. I think Washington also, probably has the better defense. Now, maybe the pass defense, maybe you could talk me into both of them being weak in pass defense. But I just think at the end of the day, Kalen DeBowers, he won this game in Eugene last year. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches. I loved him when he was at Fresno. I think that's all the difference here. I'm laying the 2 with Washington.
We're all on the same page. I love it, and I love that you were able to join us this Sunday night. Pick Dundee at Colby D on social media. One last time, where can we find you?
The College Football Experience, College Basketball Experience, or Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I appreciate you guys having me on, and like I said, I love what Liberty's doing. To me, they buy into what makes college football and college basketball, to me, better than pro, is the home environments and everything that's great. And Liberty, every time I watch a Liberty game, I go, oh, I got to get there. Whether it's basketball, whether it's football, and I haven't even checked out the other sports. So maybe that's every sport. But you guys do great stuff there, and I appreciate you guys making time for me.
Absolutely. Whenever you want to come out to a game, you say the word, we will take absolutely great care of you, especially for a basketball game. We do a big, brand new basketball arena. And again, I mean, new updates to our football stadium. But whenever you want to come out, you just let us know. And again, thank you for joining us this week. I got a good feeling. I think you're gonna shoot to the top of our guest picker standings.
Well, thanks for having me, and I will watch out. You're gonna get a DM from me. I grew up in Northern Virginia, so
Yep.
I will. I'll make sure you get the old DM there. Thanks again for having me, guys.
Absolutely. You have a great rest of your Sunday.
Appreciate it.
Likewise.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad Roasting serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, where you can enjoy their craft roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it will be directly shipped to your doorstep. Whenever you find yourself in the capital of the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at one of their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and season ticket holders, and now they're pleased to sponsor the podcast from the CRA. Hop over to www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get your Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
Now, John, I live in New Jersey, and sometimes I can't get great coffee. For me to wake up, I'm going to have to listen or watch that last play from the Sam Houston State game. The equivalent would be me drinking Ironclad coffee. So if you are lucky to have Ironclad coffee, that same rush, that same adrenaline kick is going to be equivalent to the last play of that Sam Houston State game. I'm coming down for Old Dominion, 11-11, and the number one thing, and I tweeted out, I was like, was that Ironclad coffee? And Dennis Fields right away said, yes, sir, it is Ironclad coffee. So all-time great. That's just not me saying this. I don't get any money from Ironclad coffee. I just enjoy the taste. I enjoy the feeling it gives me. And what a great opportunity we just had to talk about some college football, not just about Liberty, not just about the state of Virginia, but about everywhere else across the country. And we have our weekday games. And I do invite everyone, tune in on Saturdays. This has been an incredible college football season. There is no runaway team. There are a solid 8 to 10 teams that could make a run for the national championship and all of that good stuff. But we are able to make a run of a championship of our own, and that is in the Conference USA. And for those who are watching, you can see we have the College Football Power Index rankings. And for those who are listening live, you can't see it, but that's okay because, spoiler alert, we're number one. Manson, break it down for us.
Well, first of all, I want to say it was awesome having Colby on. He's incredibly entertaining. Whether you like gambling, you're into that or not, go make sure you check out his stuff, his content. He's very knowledgeable, and I've enjoyed some of his takes. And to be honest, we should have him on every week. That take he had on the Liberty JSU game was just phenomenal, and looking forward to watching him and following him a little bit more as we move forward. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. You talked about it there, Richie. It's been a lot of fun to have the Thursday night game and then having your Saturday and Sunday free, because in the morning you can go do some family things. You know, you got fall festivals and all these fun things, get some chores done around the house, and then clear your calendar for the afternoon, sit down and watch the YouTube TV multiplex view and pick your favorite. The biggest challenge I have Saturday afternoon is picking what 4 games do I want to watch on my YouTube TV multi-view. And it's been a lot of fun, but yeah, I mean, you know, seeing Liberty at number 1 in the FPI rankings right now, it's good. But we're still early, right? I mean, we're only 3 conference games in. We got 5 more to go. We'll learn a lot more about this Conference USA race and these standings here as we move forward these next couple of weeks. I mean, you got Liberty and Jacksonville State, obviously 2 3-0 teams squaring off on Tuesday night. And then a week from Tuesday night, you've got Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State squaring off. So once we get through these next 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, you got Liberty and WKU. Those are only 3 teams left unbeaten in the league in conference play. So by time we get, and again, we have to remember Liberty's got 2 more non-conference games in November. So by the time we get to November, which we don't want to rush along the college football season. Of course, we want to enjoy these next few games. But by the time we get there, we're going to have a pretty good idea as far as where Liberty stacks up, where Liberty can they get? Do they still have a shot at that Conference USA championship game? And what else is on the horizon for the Flames, depending on how things go. But looking forward to the game Tuesday night. It's obviously a huge showdown.
Yeah, and we're getting very close to bowl eligibility. And I think the fact that we're in a conference this year, that's not the priority as it was in years past, which is exciting to be at. And if I'm wrong, forgive me. Jacksonville State is ineligible for Conference USA Championship.
Yeah, that's correct. So other than Tuesday night, I'm a fan of Jacksonville State this season because every win they have is one less win somebody else has that can make it to Conference USA Championship game. So yeah, that's correct. They're ineligible for that. They're also ineligible for a bowl game similar to JMU as they're in their year 2. Sam Houston's in the same boat, year 2 of this adjustment period from FCS to FBS. So yes, that is correct. So, but this still will affect Liberty's standings, right? I mean, if Liberty were to drop this game, they're now, tied with the Louisiana Tech type, and we'll need to, and also the top team, whoever's first place at the end of the regular season, gets the home field too. So that would be another amazing environment on a Friday night there, early December if that game were to happen to be at Williams Stadium, which would be a lot of fun.
No, totally. But again, we're focused on the team in front of us. And again, that is Jacksonville State. Now, FPI ranked 96, scoring offense, 30.5 points a game. That's a lot of points. Going to be interesting to see when they do match up against the defense like ours. And as Kyle said, they have a ton of playmakers. They are a complete team, which is similar to Liberty this year, where we have said again and again, we're complete. We could do it in the air. We can do it on the ground. Our defense gets it done. Give me a little bit of a breakdown of what you've seen so far with Jacksonville State before we close out for the evening.
Well, I said it early on, maybe our very first episode, maybe episode 2, that Jacksonville State is a wagon as far as early in the season. It takes a little bit of time for the books to catch up to them and where they're at. And their FBI ranking is still a good 15 spots below where it should be. This is a good team. They're going to end up probably 9 wins, somewhere around in there, maybe more. If I had to set the over under now, certainly at least 8.5 to 9. They're a good team. They're gonna win a lot of games. Rich Rodriguez, you talked about it. He's a great coach. That's one thing that I feel like Liberty most of the time, even going back when Hugh Freeze was here, had the best coach. When we were going into a game, and we had the best coach. I also feel like we had the best quarterback when Malik was here, and I think we're getting back to that with Caden a little bit too. But if you go into a game having the best coach and the best quarterback, you're going to win your fair share of games. We saw that with Liberty a lot under Hugh Freeze and when Buckshot was here, and then also Malik. But it's been the same thing with Jamie Chadwell. Liberty has had the best coach on the sideline every game pretty much this season, in my opinion. This week, of course, I favor to Coach Chadwell, but Rich Rodriguez is no slouch. I mean, he's been at Michigan. We know what he's done at West Virginia. I was a WVU fan back in the day with Pat White. Man, that was a fun team to watch.
Noel Devine, Pat McAfee.
Oh yeah. Man, those are some fun games to watch. I was a WVU fan then, but their offense, they play with tempo. They're the second fastest team as far as number of plays that they get off in between from play to play on the play clock before they snap the ball. They're going to run up and down the field. They do have 2 quarterbacks. You heard Kyle talking about that earlier. They rotate them in and out pretty freely. They're both dual action type guys, dual threat guys that they can run and pass the ball. They're a little bit more dangerous on the ground. Malik Jackson, impact player we have here on this slide, leads the conference in rushing. He's right at 90 some odd rushing yards per game.
Wow.
If you look at the Conference USA stats, which I was doing some this weekend in between games that I was watching, it's Liberty or Jacksonville State, first and second, almost every category. So I know back in the preseason, everybody hyped up, including ourselves, Liberty, Western Kentucky. But this is the game that we're all looking for, right? This is 2-3-0 teams. We might see that again in 2 weeks, and I hope we do see that again in 2 weeks when we play WKU. But today, it's Liberty and Jacksonville State that are at the top of the standings. They're the two teams that have been the best, most complete, most consistent teams since week one. Huge game, national TV audience, only like 2 or 3 football games on at the same time. I mean, it's fun. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it, and we're only 45 hours from kickoff. Let's go.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Maybe we'll do a little Twitter live before the game.
Let's do it. I'm not traveling this week, so let's jump on there. The game starts at 7:30 Eastern, I believe. So yeah, sure, we can get on there for about 15-20 minutes and chat.
Yeah, have a little fun. It's going to be a great night on Twitter. It's going to be a great night in general for Liberty Athletics. But John, as always, thank you so much. Thank you to all of our guests that have joined, and thank you for all those who have tuned in this evening. Make sure you subscribe to whichever platform you are joining us on. And as always, stay blessed, stay hydrated, stay fly, and we'll see you Wednesday night. Have a great night.
Go Flames.
Go Flames.